Alaikum. In today's episode, we are going to be sharing the story of a Muslim family who moved to New York City and had to navigate moments of discrimination while settling into a new environment. This story is about one lived experience. Moving somewhere new comes with excitement, but it can also come with challenges you didn't expect. In this conversation, we talk about learning your rights, finding support, and figuring out how to feel safe and grounded in a new place. Not all stories are light and bubbly. Some are still hanging without landing, and some take time to unfold. And this is one of those stories. Thank you, Shama'il, for being here with us. I am going to pass the mic now to my co host, Noha, for the rest of this interview.
All right. Thank you, Hidayah. And I have Shama'il with me here today. Shama'il, good morning. How are
Hi.
you?
Good morning. How are you, Noha? Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. So, Shama'il, tell me something that people don't know about you. When did you come to the United States?
So, actually, I moved to the United States in 2018. I first moved to New York. We stayed there for 2 full years, and then we decided that we're going to end our chapter there and move to Texas to open a new chapter. And we've been in Texas now for like 5 years, 5.5 years.
Nice. So you've been in Texas for 5.5 years and 2 years in
Yeah.
New York City. So New York City,
Yeah.
New York City. So when you came to New York City, like I guess 7.5 years ago, were you living in North America all your life, or was this like the first encounter with
No,
North America?
no, I actually was born and raised in Egypt and I got married in Egypt. I had my son and I moved to the States when I was like maybe 22, 23 years old. So was my first encounter moving to America and living abroad. I
Oh,
used to
nice, nice.
visit though, yeah, but it was my first time. Yeah.
So how was the like? Tell me. So how was it like starting to live in America versus visiting?
Yeah, so no, living in America is completely different than visiting. So when you visit, you come as, like a tourist, you see all the beautiful things, only the bright side of living here. And you actually have this thought of, wow, if I move to live here, this would be amazing. I would have all these nice, bright side of the United States that everybody sees, right? But then when you actually come and move here and you, encounter like the day-to-day lives, you started to see like the negative sides along with the positive sides. But yeah, it's completely different, especially in New York City. I used to visit before, and the city captured me, honestly, like all the lights, the city that never sleeps, the promises. I love New York City when I visited, but then when I went to live there, uh no, it's different. It's completely different living there versus visiting. It has a lot of positives though, but there were a lot of negatives that I didn't touch when I used to visit.
Yeah. So before we dive into your experience in New York City, I'm curious, like your life in Egypt. What did that look like? Living in Egypt, growing up there. A lot of us, I guess. Uh, come from like sheltered backgrounds in Egypt. Like Egypt is very
Yeah.
segregated, as you know. Like there's lots of experience you can have there.
Yeah, so living in Egypt was completely different from my experience living here because it's pretty luxurious, right? So you have everybody to do everything for you. So you have somebody to put the gas for you, you have somebody to come and take out the garbage, somebody to clean the house. It's like there is help everywhere. Plus, living along or near your family is also pretty different from being alone here, even if you're surrounded with like friends. Living in Egypt was much more easier than living here, but living in the States kind of makes you grow up, right? So you learn a lot of experiences and a lot of skills that you might not have the chance to learn in Egypt. Also, you kind of meet different people because in Egypt you're in a bubble, right, in a circle where the same people like come from the same background, the same culture, they speak the same language, but then you come here and it's very diverse. You meet a lot of people with different backgrounds. This makes you learn and gain a lot of skills. So living in Egypt is very easy, but living in the States kind of makes you more self-aware, stronger, and resilient.
Yeah, for sure. You reminded me of something I saw online, and someone was saying something around the lines of, you literally pack like a 23 kilogram bag and just move. And
Yeah.
but the unpacking is not just physical unpacking. Do you agree? I mean, like like
No.
you said, you started
Yeah.
growing up, you realize how resilient you are. You didn't really feel
Mhm.
that before. So tell me
Yeah.
something. So tell me something that you experienced in New York City that really made you grow.
Okay, so so living in Egypt, I was living in a bubble. Okay, I moved to the New York City, and as I told you, I was so optimistic, and I was so caught up in the idea of New York City, the energy, the promise, and the excitement. But 2 weeks after we arrived, I took my son for a walk on the beach, and it was a really beautiful day, sunny, calm, and peaceful. And I remember feeling so optimistic, like life was opening up in front of me. And then it started to shift when I noticed a man standing on the beach with like this huge Rottweiler dog, and the dog was unleashed, okay, in an area where dogs weren't allowed. And the man said something to me in a language that I didn't recognize, and no warning, he just let his dog run straight towards us. And Noha, literally, the dog just stopped inches from our feet. I remember I froze and my son was terrified. I was holding him, trying to protect him and calm him, and also trying to understand what's happening. Like when this happens, your brain kind of completely shut down. And then seconds later, the man called the dog back, and as if it was like a game for him, he was testing us. And the
Yes.
dog just walked back to him. I remember walking toward the man and asking him in like a shaking voice, "Why would you do that?" So he looked at me, and in the most extreme mocking tone, he said, "Well, if you want to live in America, you just need to teach your son how to respect animals." And honestly, the comment made like no sense for me. I love animals. My son love animals. And this line struck me because we talk a lot about like teaching children respect, right? But what about respecting adults and respecting other human beings? But he just like mumbled in something, and like he walked away. And also, Noha, I just wanted to say something like this is not the only thing that shook me at the time. So he did something big, like he weaponized his dog to terrify a mother and her toddler, right? But what actually shook me the most was the passive indifference and silence of everybody watching. Like the beach was full of people. Everybody saw what happened. Nobody said a word, and nobody intervened in any way. Like as if they're watching a movie. So I walked away shaken. My phone was dead, so I actually didn't have anybody to talk to. So I was shaken and not only scared, like I felt disoriented. I was new to the country. I didn't know the law. I didn't know what protection I had, to the point that I thought maybe I don't have any protection at all. And at that night, I didn't sleep well. Like when night hits and you just replay everything over and over in your head, like thinking of all the things you wish that you have said and done. And then I realized that silence does not stop behaviors like this, right? Silence feeds behavior like this. So this man definitely did the same thing to another person who went silent. So that's why he did it again and again and again. So I decided I'm gonna break that cycle, right? So 2 weeks later, I saw him again. So I was parking my car at night when I noticed him walking his dog. And this time I decided I would not stay silent. I would just be courageous, brave. I got out of my car and I walked toward him. So what he did is that he lifted his leash as if he was about to release the dog again. So I walked closer and asked him, "Why are you doing this?" How I went with the intention of talking to him, in a way that maybe he experienced a bad thing with another person. So that's why he's acting this way. And I was like intending to tell him, like, having a bad experience with one person does not dictate that you should react in this way with like this whole population. Okay. So I was really having a good intention just to talking to him calmly. So he looked at me and he said, like, "Oh, you're a Muslim. I can smell a Muslim from 20 feet away. Go back to your country." And I was like, "Okay, so first of all, I'm 5 feet away from you. Show me what you can do, okay? And second, the day you go back to your country is the same day I'm going to go back to mine. We're all different, right?"
Absolutely, and
So yeah,
we're all rooted from different areas for sure.
exactly, exactly. So we just learn how to live with each other, respect our differences. But then he just mumbled again and he walked away. This time I decided I'm gonna call 911, okay? And the police came and I spoke to the police. They were like, that old talk of, "Oh, we hope you're going to be okay. You don't worry. We're going to talk to him." And they actually went and spoke to him. And I didn't see him again for about a month until my husband and we went on a short vacation and returned. And we went back. We decided that we want to go grocery shopping. Okay. So we walked outside and we found a large trash bag dumped on my husband's car, and the bag had been cut open, okay, and trash was scattered everywhere. So in my mind, I knew immediately who it was. Okay, I was just 100% positive it was that neighbor. And we called the police again, and one officer came. So there were two officers, okay? One of them tried to minimize it. They said, "Oh, we cannot do anything about it. There's no physical harm, no injury, nothing we can charge him with, okay? And plus, he said you cannot just accuse him. There is no evidence that he did that." The other officer was really helpful and he was trying to help as much as he can, and he took it seriously. So he said that if your neighbor does have a camera, because we didn't have one at the time, we can check the camera. And it turns out that the neighbor is really best friends with the other neighbor family, and they were resisting for the footage to be reviewed. But then after a while, they got the police officers inside, and when the police officers came out, they showed us like the footage. So it's like this: the man walking his dog, holding the trash bag. He saw our car. He just casually threw the trash bag on the car and he cut it open and dumped it on the car. Okay. So when I saw that video, I got furious. Like, why do you feel entitled to do that? Right. And the officers then started to explain our options to us. We wanted to do like the extreme course of law with him. So they gave us a lot of options. The first one was you can just let it go and live peacefully with him. And we were like, no, this is a hard no for us. And then they said, okay, so you can move forward legally. We have two options: either having the man pay a fine to the city, and that's it. For me, it's also like a no. And then the other thing is that it's just like moving forward with a legal course of action. Okay. So this wouldn't be a personal retaliation. It's going to be the city of New York versus him. And when we knew that this would stay on his record, something that's permanent, and it would follow him for his lifetime, we chose that course of action. And honestly, no, like after that, everything changed surprisingly. So every time the man saw me, he crossed the street, he turned his back, he avoided me completely, and his behavior stopped. Like also my neighbor, who turned out to be like best friends with his family, she had like that kind of hidden racism, like the look away racism and the weird looks racism. This completely stopped. And later on, when I spoke with another Muslim neighbors in the area, I learned something that shook me even more. Like they told me that when they first moved to this neighborhood, like ages ago, they received an anonymous letter in their mailbox. Okay. And the letter said that the writer had lived in the neighborhood his entire life, and that it used to be clean, and that he was afraid their presence would ruin it. Okay. So they never knew who sent this letter. They called 911 at the time and they said, well, it's anonymous. We can't do anything about it. Until I shared my story with them. And without hesitation, they said, well, it's definitely him. This is when I understood, like I was not an isolated incident. It was a pattern. It was a pattern that he used to make with every Muslim he saw. And I know that patterns survive in silence, right? Silence feed such patterns and it escalates. At the time, I didn't feel victorious because I like won over him or anything. I felt victorious because I broke the silence, and I felt victorious because what he did to hurt us, right? To intimidate us and to make us feel afraid and out of place. But in the end, it followed him. It stayed on his record. It changed the way he moved through the world, right? He changed his streets when he saw me, and the fear didn't live with us. It just kind of lived with him and haunted him. And I believe that until this moment, he remembers us every time he tries to like take a loan or have a credit checked or something like that. And uh, I came to the conclusion that harmful action and racism, it doesn't target other people. It haunts the people that carry them. Hate hunt the people that carry it, right? They follow those people. The hate shape their life in a way they cannot escape, because for every action there is a consequence, and now he's living the consequence for the action he did to me, right? So he hurted himself more. And I decided to share this story, not only because I felt as a victim at the time, so because someone who learned that breaking silence is powerful. And because when you speak up, you don't just protect yourself, right? You protect the next person. I believe when he sees another Muslim woman or Muslim man, he wouldn't do that. So I was just happy that I stopped the cycle. And this was my first encounter to anything that I had to stand up for myself by myself in the States. I never encountered anything like that in Egypt, right? Because in Egypt, you have a lot of people to protect you. You don't have to stand up for yourself in something like that. So that's why I decided to share that story. It's the cycle has to stop. And I really advise anyone who just encounters something like this to not remain silent. Speak up for yourself, educate yourself about your rights, about the law, and everybody will just stay in their shape, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shemel, uh, you mentioned something during your story with this man. At the very beginning, the first attack at the beach, you said something that probably will strike a lot of people when you said, like watching a movie, people were looking like they're watching a movie, not reacting.
Yeah, yeah. This was striking for me
Yeah.
because you know, where we come from, like in Egypt, since we were talking about the difference in experience between living in Egypt and here, people wouldn't have that reaction. You know, like people would interfere, they would defend you, they would stand up for you. But no, this didn't happen. They were so passive and indifferent. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will absolutely relate to that. Do you think if someone had stood up for you at that instant at the beach, would that have changed the course of the action that came after that?
It would have made me feel much safer. It would have made me like that feeling that I walked away with from the beach was really bad. You know, I felt so alone. I wouldn't have felt that. I'm not sure if would have changed. It would have changed the action of the man because this is a pattern. Okay, so this is calculated. He wants to be intimidating for Muslims. He hates Muslims. He might have had a bad experience with them. So I feel hate does not stop with having an external person interfere in an argument, right? It might have just escalated things. So I'm not sure if it would have changed his own behavior, but it would have definitely changed the way I felt about it.
Absolutely. And then your when you mentioned that you try to come in peace after and talk to him,
Yeah.
assuming that maybe he had a bad experience for whatever reason, uh, that was also pushed back. He said you lifted his leash and tried to intimidate you again, and then that's when you had to involve the police because at that moment it probably felt very scary and very unsafe.
Exactly, because I had the intention that I would talk to him calmly, like understand why he's saying that. Maybe if he has a misconception, I can correct it. But like when they say hate makes you blind, he wouldn't even listen. He wouldn't even take a step back. So having a neighbor that hates you that much without any reason, that is racist, doesn't usually end well until you just break this cycle, right? So this is when I decided that I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to call 911, and I'm going to have like higher authority interfere in this, because at that time I felt really unsafe. So he's my neighbor, he knows where I live, has been in this neighborhood for ages, and he's like best friends with most of the neighbors who were actually kind of having this stereotype about Muslims and Islam. So I felt, no, I felt in danger actually.
And Shama'il, something else that you said that I really want to highlight is that pattern survives in silence. So
Yeah.
you really felt the ownership of breaking that silence and putting in action and making sure that the police follows up.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's when the behavior completely stopped. So if anyone is experiencing anything remotely similar, and I hope not, knowing
Mhm.
that when you action it and you make sure you action it in a safe way, that
Mhm.
you also could come out with a good outcome where someone is going to stop bullying essentially someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not only that I was defending myself, Noha, it was I'm defending myself and other people, because I'm for him I'm representing that whole population of Muslims, right? From his own perspective. So I felt like if I didn't stand up for myself, so I'm not protecting myself and I'm not protecting the coming person. And like if he weaponized his dog to terrify us, why would he not do anything else that is much more dangerous? Like he doesn't mind having physical harm, because at that time the dog might have made any physical harm either to me or my son. So I felt the responsibility that this person need to know that it's not okay to terrify a person, no matter what his religion was or what his beliefs was. And when took that action and I made sure the police follows up, the behavior stopped from him and all the other neighbors, right? So he was the only one who was violent. He was the only one who was loud. Other neighbors were like looking at you, that kind of hidden racism, right? So
Yes, yes.
yeah, so everybody stopped. So they actually stop when they know you understand themselves, but when they are confronted by the contrary of what they think about, they kind of stop, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a very important point. And as a minority myself, I certainly understand where you come from. You do
Yeah.
feel you do feel the pressure of having to be almost like a gold standard continuously. And certainly, even if you're not, even if you're just acting normal, there's certainly people that just have hate inside them and certainly express it in different ways.
Yes, exactly. And it's unexplained hate, like they don't have a reason for it.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I've also had that chance come my way visiting New York.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Shamal, for sharing your story. And it sounds like you went from optimistic feeling when you came 7.5 years ago. You
Mhm.
experienced this. You took a course of action that corrected the behavior, and then you moved to Texas, where it sounds like, yeah, inshallah, you're on the optimistic path again.
Yes, yeah. Optimistic but grounded path, not blindly optimistic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to know how to get back to ground.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I really
No, thank you, Noha. Yeah,
appreciate your time, and
thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.